let's start with Randy Arozarena. Obviously got here end of July through the trade deadline. It was the headline move of the deadline for the Mariners. What was your grade in a shortened Randy Arozarena Mariners season?
He gets a B for me.
Okay.
And go ahead.
I gave him a B+.
Offense was good. 122 WRC plus. They'll have him for 2 more years if they decide to pay his contract for 2 more years. So, yeah, it sounds like, honestly, for what they were trading for, offensive production and multiple years of control. They got it from him. They got it both of those from him. Struck out a little bit too much. Walked at a decent clip. Didn't have a problem getting on base. 356 on base percentage as a Mariner. Was worth about 1 win. He's just not adding much value besides his bat. It's not on the base paths, and it's definitely not in the field. He's nearing DH territory in the field.
Yeah. Not a good defender. That's not what they traded him. That's not what they traded to get him for, but doesn't mean you can't just not play defense. Yeah, his defense is going to have to get a lot better.
But it's not because he's not old and he's not slow. So why is he so bad in the outfield? Oh, well, usually that comes back to just instincts.
And route running, jumps, etc. It's not good enough defense. There's no doubt about that. The reason I think I gave him, or not I think, the reason I did give him a B+ is because they just needed an injection of life so badly on offense, and they needed more guys that, while nobody has the Julio upside on this roster, they needed more guys that could be the Robin to Julio's Batman. Randy is much closer to that. Now, again, like we said earlier in the show, he is not one of the game's upper echelon players. He's just not that. I'm not even talking about Judge or Shohei. Those two are in a category on their own. I'm talking about some of the other superstars across the game, especially some of the ones that play outfield. He's just not that guy, either offensively or defensively. Is he a really good player who's going to make some all-star games in his career? Absolutely. He already has. And that's part of the reason that I gave him a higher grade, because his offense was good. And the biggest storyline around the Mariners team in 2024 was not defense. Defense can always get better. It was how abysmal the offense looked pre-trade deadline. And Randy did help turn a lot of that around. So I'm going to give him a B+.
He helped turn it around, absolutely. But his type of play style, especially of how he is at the plate, you mentioned how streaky he is, plays into a lot of the hot-cold factor of this lineup, really. The consistency of the lineup mostly stemmed from Victor Robles had one real cold spell, but otherwise he was pretty consistent. Julio was really cold and then really hot. Luke Raley was really, who we'll get to, really up and down. Like, he had his hot streaks, he had his cold streaks, and that comes when you swing and miss so much, because you're either getting the ball in the barrel or you're missing it altogether, which is the ultimate boom or bust. And that's really how Randy's season went. We detailed it when the Mariners traded for him. He couldn't have gotten off to a slower start this year. He had a 36 WRC plus in April. And then the bell curve went up. 104, 164, 166. And then he gets to the Mariners. It's 128 in August and 107 in September. So it went like this. You'd like it to sort of go like this or just stay like this the whole time. Watch on YouTube so you can see what I'm doing with my right hand right here, of what the kind of consistency that would help the Mariners. And have Randy, get his strikeout rate down, hopefully. Yeah, he is in his offensive prime, so asking him to cut down his strikeouts isn't impossible. He got a little more selective as he's gotten older, but I don't think that's a reason for your whiff rate to really accelerate through the roof. The last thing I'll add here is that, despite all these flaws in his game, the Mariners hit a home run when they acquired him. They needed to acquire him, and they went out, they jumped the market, and they got him for a very reasonable package. And that's what they needed. And hopefully for the next 2 years until he hits free agency, he's here in a Mariners uniform, because this roster is significantly better with him on it than with him off of it.
Don't trade him.
Please.
It's quite the offseason if they do, especially on this podcast. No, you cannot trade him. I will also say that when Randy gets hot, he can get as hot as anybody in baseball. When he gets hot, that's what it looks like. He can be an aircraft carrier for parts of time. He doesn't usually do it throughout a whole year, but he can do it for periods of time. And if Randy was closer to a 135, 140 WRC plus hitter and a 5-win player, then we might start grading him more like in the A range. I would say both of us still have him graded on a little bit of a star curve. Again, he's not one of the game's elites, but he is an all-star. He is a very, very good player. He was a headline move when they acquired him. So yeah, he's just not quite that. But if you're going to be a 120 WRC plus hitter every year and be a 20 homer guy, the Mariners need that very, very bad. And they need him on this roster very, very badly. So trade was a win. You didn't give up that much. And by the way, for those who didn't see, the player to be named later finally got announced. It was Ty Cummings. That's the final guy who went back to Tampa in the trade. So now that makes it full. The trade was the Rays got back Aiden Smith, Brody Hopkins, and Ty Cummings. So Randy needs to be here. Do not even think about shipping that guy out of town, because when he's here, this team's ceiling's a lot higher.
In a good lineup, how is Randy the third best hitter, would you say? Like in a good lineup?
Good or elite? Like the Yankees or the... I don't know.
Is there an elite lineup this year? I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess Randy would probably be the third best hitter in the Yankees lineup behind Soto and Judge.
Right. Well, since the Mariners acquired him on July 27th, he was the fifth best hitter in the Mariners lineup. Just to know, fifth best in the Mariners lineup from the time he was acquired. Still productive, but not like out just the fifth best.
Right. And part of that was how hot both Julio and Rayleigh and Robles were. But yes, they need Randy to have more months like he did before he got here in the trade. Not early on when he was really struggling, but some of the stuff he was doing in May, June, July. They need more of that. Now, they only had him for 2 months, and we talked about how tough of an adjustment that probably was for Randy, and I don't think that can be overstated. You move as far away from home as possible, all the way across the country. Did he even find a place to live in the 2 months? If you're going to get traded over here at the deadline and you're only going to be in town for 2 months before the season ends and half of that you're on the road, a lot of guys probably just wait till the offseason to find a permanent place. So that's probably hard too. We don't know if Randy did that for sure or not, but it's possible. So
and his family wasn't here.
Right. All that stuff's pretty hard. And especially when you factor in an organization that he really did love in Tampa and he was with for the majority of his big league career. So, yeah, they need more from him in 2025. He was still good in 24, but they could use a little bit more. And if he could be slightly better on defense, that'd be awesome. Oh, actually, one more thing. He oddly didn't hit fastballs this year. That needs to change. He hit 173 against... Yeah, he hit 173 against fastballs. Now, you could look at that glass half full and say, in spite of all that, he was still productive and still gave the Mariners a lot of juice when he got here. And post-April, still had a really nice season. But he's got to hit fastballs.
He had a negative 22 run value drop-off against that pitch.
So weird.
That's enormous. I mean, that is legitimate from good to bad or elite to average or like all of that. Like, that's the difference there. That's a remarkable drop-off. And I'm going to keep reiterating, like, he's in his athletic prime. It shouldn't be, bat speed shouldn't be a problem. Athleticism shouldn't be a problem at this point.
No.
So that's kind of puzzling. If he was 32, that'd be a little bit of a different story. More of a red flag, to be honest. But we'll hope he gets back to that next year. This was really just kind of an odd year for him. He'd been a little bit more, wall to wall consistent in his past years with the Tampa Bay Rays. This year, not so much. We're hoping it gets back a little bit more to like last year, like his 2021 season. For the 2025 version of the Mariners, and I'm sure they'll be a lot happier because of it.